Okay, so there are a lot of toxic barns out there, like a lot of them. And I've been boarding at barns for, oh gosh, over 20 years now. I've been in horses maybe 25 years. I've been boarding for over 20 of those years. I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say it. Barn hoppers, 95% of the time, they get a bad rap. And usually when somebody calls somebody a barn hopper, it's a barn that can't keep a client. Sorry, not sorry. Maybe a popular opinion, maybe an unpopular opinion. I don't know. I don't care. And it's just the truth. It's just the truth from what I've seen. I spent basically 3 years as a barn hopper. I would have been a barn hopper. And the reason I would have been a barn hopper was because I was always having to pull my horses because they were being starved, injured without telling me that they were injured. I'd show up, they were injured or sick or whatever. Sometimes I'd find them without water at places. There were a couple barns I was outright screamed in my face by a man taller than me. Strangely, in both cases, I was screamed at by a big, tall, strong man. Anyway, so yeah, at that point, I would have been labeled a barn hopper. And you can understand in those circumstances why I'd be hopping barns until I found one that actually fed my horses and took care of them. And once I found that, I've been there 2 years this October coming up. So a long time. I'm loyal when you treat my horses right. When you're not, I barn hop. I'll go. So at any rate, in my travels as barn hopper, as well as a person that has actually been a professional in this industry, as a judge, as a clinician, as a riding instructor, as a trainer, a working student, and a groom, I have seen all sorts of things, and they're not all good. And at some barns, like working for them, they'll look great on the outside if you don't go there all the time, but what you're not seeing behind the scenes. But I'm not going to talk a lot about that, but what I want to talk about is ways that you can avoid barns like that, bad boarding barns. I'm kind of nervous about talking about it because I know once you start talking about it, people start trying to discredit you and make you view the problem. And usually when barns start doing that, it's not the person talking about its problem, but everyone tends to go around the owner of the barn or whatever, and go with that point of view, and you're just left there. But I'm not going to name specific barns. I'm just going to say some of the problems that I've come across, and like key little phrases and things that now I look out for when I go looking for barns that make me just not walk but run from that barn. And they're not true across the board. You're going to have exceptions of people that use those phrases or those advertising techniques because they see other people do it and they're not like that. But I would say most of them are, and it's hard to tell the difference between those barns and the ones that are just using them as techniques because they think other barns are using them. One of the things I often see is the phrase, "We are family friendly and we treat your horses like family." And if you see me look like off camera and stuff like that, I just move my eyes a lot when I talk and think. I just do. I don't know why. And also, I'm not used to talking on camera, so I don't quite know where to look. So forgive me. Family friendly, or we treat your horse like family. First of all, that whole thing is just not true. It's a lie. If they were treating you and your horses like family, you would either be there at cost or you wouldn't be paying anything. So you can almost be guaranteed that everything else beyond that is not going to be completely truthful from my experience. What I've discovered when I've boarded at barns like that, because they sound nice, is that they're extremely cliquey, and they do have a family. They do have a barn family. And you're either going to fit into that family or you're not. And to fit into that family, there are some things you may have to overlook and just accept that aren't always, good for the horse at all. So when I hear those terms, and like I said, I'm not saying 100% that's accurate, but it's been pretty accurate from what I've seen. So whenever I hear that phrase now or I see it in the literature, I'm like, okay, this may be a barn that is cliquey. And I think twice about it. I often just don't want any part of it, that situation. And you can also sometimes spot them when you go and you visit the barn and you notice that there are groups of people together just laughing, talking, or whatever. And then there are other people on the sidelines that you might see that aren't part of that group. Like if they say that and then they're family friendly and they treat your horses like family, and you go and that's the kind of thing that you see that would kind of clue you in that may be what you're looking at, a cliquey barn. And that's like family friendly is code for that. My view, what my experience has been. Another thing that I have noticed, drama. We are a drama-free barn. I've even had, I was at one barn that actually had that in the contract. They did not even say what their version of drama was. They didn't give drama a definition. They just said drama-free. So, I mean, that's pretty vague. I mean, they could at least write what the drama would be in there. Drama could be anything. They could just not like something, and it's drama to them, and you're gone. But anyways, drama-free usually means drama is following that barn or the people at that barn everywhere, and they're going to displace that on the easiest target. Again, not all the time, but in my experience, most of the time. So whenever I hear that now, we're a drama-free barn, we don't like drama, the last person was here was so dramatic and we're so glad that they're gone, I'm always in my head, I'm like, now, why does drama follow you everywhere so much that you have to make a rule about it? Like, because you never see a barn that's like, oh, we're a drama barn, we're always going to have drama. I mean, you're not going to see anybody advertise that, because think about it. Why would you advertise your barn like that? So why do you have to advertise that your barn isn't like that? And if it is, maybe you need to look in the mirror. Maybe you're the drama. So I try to stay away from barns like that too. Another thing I found are barns that promise you the world. They promise everything. It all sounds great. They can take the fly mask on and off whenever you want. They can take the fly sheet on and off whenever they want. If your horse has a special need, they can cater to that need. Nothing's extra in the price. They can do it all for you. Some barns will. Very few of them will. Very few. If a barn is promising you absolutely everything and they have no line in the sand that they've drawn, they're probably not going to perform any of the things they're telling you that they're going to perform, or give you any of the things that they say they're going to give you. They'll either lie to you and tell you that they've never said that thing, or that you misunderstood them, you misheard them, they gaslight you, whatever, once you're in the door. Basically, all they're trying to do is get you to board there. They need boarders, and, they'll tell you anything to get you in. So if they're promising you the world and it sounds too good to be true, it is. It is. Avoid that barn. Healthy barns have rules and limits. You don't learn the rules and limits once you're at the barn boarding and you have nowhere to go. They give you those rules and limits before you get to the barn. They also don't make rules and limits just for one person. They apply them to the entire barn. That's a healthy barn culture. Another thing you can look out for is horses that are thin or don't look good. But too many times before I really figured it out, because it took me a while, was if I go to boarding barns and I see consistently bad thin horse after thin horse after thin horse. There might be one or two that look good and the rest of them are all thin. The two that look good are probably horses that either just got there or the owner's horses. If all the other horses, or their friends' horses, but if most of the horses, or a big chunk of the horses, are thin, and they're like, oh, that horse has a health problem, or that horse came like that, it came from somewhere else, or whatever, don't trust that place. Don't trust there. Don't board at that barn. Go. I have found more times than not, they all start starving your horses. And it surprises me how many people will stay at barns that are literally starving their horses, and their horses are starving, too, but they'll stay there and stand behind that barn. It's amazing. But if you see a barn with a lot of thin horses, 3 or 4 thin horses, even 2 or 3, that's too much. You expect maybe older horses, 1 or 2, but beyond that, no, that's a problem. That's a big problem. That's a big red flag. Especially if they tell you, oh, we're feeding all these horses, we're giving them hay all the time, but you see no hay with these horses. I would say also look at waterers. If you see, you know, foul water with a bunch of algae in it, things like that, maybe not the best place for your horse. So like fences, look at the fences. How are they maintaining their fences? Are there a lot of nails sticking out of their fences? Are a lot of their fences just broken? They might tell you, we're just here, we're going to repair them, we're going to do this and that. Maybe, but if you don't see any repair stuff around there, the chances are that's not going to happen. And once you get there, you're not going to see any of those things be fixed or repaired. You're going to see it fall apart even more. These are just a few things that you can look out for. There are many more, and I might do a video of more if you guys like it. Again, I'm sorry if I look around a lot. I do that when I talk. Also don't know quite where to look, and I'm really nervous doing this video. I'm nervous in front of the camera anyway, but I'm really nervous doing a video like this. But I think that it needs to be made. I just want everybody to know too, if you run into barns like that, don't feel like you're a failure. And if people online and stuff, they tell you, well, you should have known better, or you should have done this, you should have done that. Don't listen to it, because you know what? Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. That's what being human is. You know, as long as in the end we do right by our horses and get them out of places like that, which sometimes can be hard when your options are limited in a smaller town or whatever, but we do, you know, we do our best. You do you, and try not to listen to the rest. It is not your fault if your horses get treated badly or not fed or abused at another barn. It is not ever your fault unless you don't do anything about it. Then it is. But, you know, if you're trying to get them out or you're trying to do better by them, you're not at fault. Also, if you see them try to like lie to you and it's not what they said, you know it's not what they said, stay true to what you heard and your beliefs. Don't let them change things on you. There's a lot of pressure to do that in the industry, just to kind of smooth things over because you're afraid that they're going to give you a bad name as a client. You won't find another barn to board at. That usually does not happen. You usually can find another barn to board at. People in the industry will generally have that person's number. They already know. They may not say it openly or anything like that, but the industry's small, and people know. People know who's doing that and who isn't. They kind of keep it undercover, but they know exactly who's doing that. So they, just because, you know, the other barn might say something about you, doesn't mean that you're not going to find another place or that your reputation's going to be ruined. If you really liked my video, please push the thanks button below to help support the page, and let me know that you liked this video and that you found it informative. I'd love to hear your comments. Maybe. I think. I'm not sure. But yeah, go ahead and post your comments. Click the thumbs up button and subscribe if you enjoyed what you liked. And if you like my shirt, I will post a link to where you can get this really cool bow Rockstar shirt below. The link will be below for that. Thanks for watching.